Hello and welcome to this video. Today I'm going to unbox another Elves box by Sophie and Toffee, and this one is their August Elves box, themed around cacti. Now I always struggle with these kinds of boxes where the ledges are on the inside, because they're just so firmly stuck, which is good because they are a bit sturdier, but it's really hard to open them sometimes. Now, behind the tissue paper we have this super adorable booklet. Look at these illustrations, they are so adorable. And of course Sophie and Toffee's social media, so feel free to pause this video and follow them. And I just love the designs. Look at the cute cactus in the middle, it's like a family with a little bearded cactus. Now the first item in this box is actually this mold, and I think this is supposed to be like a tray cactus mold. Next up we get these letter charms, these are just normal letter beads. And then we get some hooks for keychains, fittingly actually in green. And we also get some part A and part B 1:1 ratio epoxy resin. And this marker, it's really hard to see on camera because the lettering actually is in a golden font, but it's a liquid chrome marker. And apparently it's a high-gloss liquid chromium marker, so I'm excited to test them out eventually and see how good it actually is. Our second mold is this 6 cacti mold, and they have this little recess in the back, and they come with a set of magnets, so these must be kind of fridge magnets. And we have 6 different shapes of cacti in plant pots, so these look so adorable. I'm really looking forward to making these. Next up we get some more beads, and these are kind of cute flower and heart ones that have different colors. And then we also get a huge spool of nylon thread. This can be very handy from anything to decoration making to bracelets, obviously, and of course also keychains. And then we get some white, tealish green, a golden brown and a mauve kind of pigment, and some pastel beads. And of course a whole armada of these letter beads that has spilled out of the package. As always, the booklet shows us all of the items inside, and some of them it gives us examples for the colorant you can use. So you can see all of the items that we should get, and apparently the pigments and the beads were kind of random. And then of course we have instructions, so we can see the tray mold. And then next up are the magnets. And actually these pages are kind of sticking together, and you can see how they pour the magnets with different colors and apply the magnets in the back with some glue, or actually make some shakers with these. I think that's a very interesting idea. You can make charms out of these and just make shakers from the back part of this, as described here. Yes, there is a typo in the booklet. Ignore that happens sometimes. And then of course we get the showcase, which is my favorite pages in the booklet, and we have these beautiful creations that other people make, some of them with items from boxes, some others just random beautiful resin creations. I always love those pages, they're so inspiring. But let's actually make something ourselves. Now you all have seen me mix up resin in a lot of videos before, so I'm not going to repeat that, but I mixed up a little bit of this 1:1 ratio resin, and of course I mixed up too much, so I had to pour some in some leftover molds. But I decided to use these Morandi pigments because I thought they were very fitting, since they're nice and opaque and the shades are really nice. And I'm gonna do half of the cacti in this lovely dark green and the other one in this really bright yellowy green. And I think that will fit them very well. Now some of these cacti do have arms, and as you can see I tried with a skewer to get the air bubbles out, but that was just not really working that well. So instead I found out that if you pour the resin inside and then just squeeze the sides of the mold until the air bubbles rise, it's way easier to get a bubble-free even look on the cacti than it is to actually try and manually remove the bubbles with a skewer or something like that. So yeah, as you can see, I tried again, but I just gave up, and you can see when I squeeze it, there's a huge amount of bubbles that rise, and I do have to top off the molds that have the bubbles once they all risen, because they do take up a lot of space, but in the end it worked out really well. And I'm just cleaning off the edges here to make sure that I don't have any green spillover when I pour the second layer of this, because currently I'm just pouring the cactus. Now for the second layer I mixed up another shade of Morandi, this kind of cocoa hot chocolate brown, and I think this will be perfect for the plant pot. And as you can see, I mixed up way more than I actually need, and that's just because I decided to have the leftover molds a little bit more themed. So I decided I'm gonna mix up enough to also hopefully fill up all of the leftover molds, which worked out for one of them. The coaster definitely needs a lot of flat layer just to even out the bottom, but for the paw it worked out pretty well. And I just like this green and brown color combination. I think it's very cute as like a paw color. It almost reminds me also of like mint and chocolate ice cream. But that means we also get some bonus content of me demolding this paw. Now the mold was pretty dirty on the inside, which I didn't see. I thought it was only on the outside, but it's fine. Just some black resin that left some dots there. But you know, it gives a character. As for the cacti, the beginning, especially the edge ones, were a bit harder to unmold until you got grip, and that's just because of the supports they put into the silicone. But overall it worked out pretty well. They didn't actually strain the molds too much while molding. Now I did have one accident, you will see that later, where one of the cacti actually stuck to the mold with its base. And that was because, and that's absolutely my fault, these kinds of molds are very narrow and deep, so when you actually use a lighter, it gets a bit hotter than you would expect because the flames cannot escape. So as you can see, it definitely fused with the silicone. Now it is in an area where it doesn't really matter around the plant pot. I can just shave that off, and next time I pour it I just have to even out the plant pot a little bit. But it's always a thing to consider, especially with deep narrow molds. Maybe I should have used the heat gun, but my heat gun is like way too powerful wind-wise because it's a large one. So for this one I decided to use the lighter, and it was definitely not the best decision. It made the cacti nice and bubble-free, but it definitely ruined the mold in that part. Although it's still usable. And as you can see, the only air bubbles I really have were on the one side of the plant pots. Another thing to note is that the magnets are smaller than the actual holes, which meant that, as you can see, I stuck my magnets together trying to just swipe them in there. I wanted all of them to have the same orientation. That didn't really work out too well, and in the end my fingers were covered in super glue. Now this might be helpful for making shakers, or actually if you pick up like the larger magnets or something, but in this case, definitely wasn't too helpful in placing them inside of there. It could have been made to fit the magnets a bit better, but it's understandable that they would make it larger. And actually it does have two advantages. First of all, you have more shaker space, which definitely makes sense, but second of all, you can also encase them in UV resin. UV resin, of course, I pour on top because you cannot cure it underneath the magnet, so I'm not using it as a glue, I'm just using it as a topper. The only disadvantage it has is obviously it weakens the magnets a little bit because it has to go through the cured resin, but I like to cover them a little and fuse them a bit more to the rest of the resin just to make sure the magnets don't pull out as easily, and usually for me it works really well. In all the magnet projects I have made so far that I covered with UV resin, the magnets haven't come off at all. So I can highly suggest that if you have some UV resin, you don't need much, you can just cover them. And I'm just using a toothpick to like spread it around the edges a bit and then wipe off the excess, and then afterwards it's curing time. And as you can see, I decorated a new UV lamp, which I might show you in another video. And here you can see all the cacti. So the only blemishes that they really have are these tiny air bubbles that are on the sides of the plant pots, but else they're absolutely perfect and I adore them. Now you can of course decorate them with like any kind of canes, like if you have flower canes or something like that, you can put that on there, make them look like they're flowering. You can use, actually, a tip what I like to use recently is nail polish, because it has the same shimmer and it actually grips onto the resin pretty well. So just apply some nail polish in like colored spots or something like that. I would have loved to do that with the cacti with the bump. The problem is that I didn't really have the right shade of nail polish, and I don't just want to buy some nail polish for this kind of small area. But for other projects in the future, I'm definitely gonna use them. What were my thoughts about this box? I was actually a little bit disappointed, I have to say. Since this is an Elves box, it's meant to be actual projects. Unlike a pixie box that's just a collection of items, this felt in a way more like a pixie box, although it had the addition of the resin and stuff. I guess it makes sense to make keychains out of the tiny cacti, but maybe if they had included the cacti mold, like part of it without the magnet thing, or could have just made it 2 parts that you can like glue on the magnet part to the plant pot afterwards, or just leave it out to make a charm out of this, so you don't have the like ugly like hole on the side or need to make a shaker out of it. I think that would have been a very nice idea. Now the trinket mold is obviously not my favorite, because I don't really use these kinds of molds, but I think it could be a neat addition to somebody that likes these kind of vibes, and it's very fresh and summery. I guess you can actually, if you want to use this as a decoration or as a trinket dish mold, you can definitely do that, and it's a nice addition. The only thing I don't really like are the beads. They could have totally added some canes to decorate the cacti or to embed in them. If you wanna give us the option for shakers, maybe add a shaker foam and like some tiny sprinkles or something like that, that would have been perfect. But it feels very inconsistent and like the beads don't belong into this box at all. That being said, I absolutely adore these cacti. The tiny cacti magnets, they're so cute, and I'm definitely gonna use them. So overall, mold-wise, it was a good box. Editions-wise, well, it lacked a little bit in my eyes, but it's definitely usable things. It just doesn't really fit the theme. And I have to give special props to the booklets. This is one of the very cutest ones they ever made. I have to say it's like up in the top 2 tier lists this year of cute booklets, together with the Cat Cafe one. But anyways, let me know in the comments below, did you enjoy this box? Did you actually get it? And which project was your favorite in it? And as always, I hope you have a great day. See you next time. Bye bye!